Hello, I'm here to talk about the new law of National Defense Authorization Act, and this act allows the government to take any citizens or immigrants who come to this country or live in this country without fair trial and take them to any prison or any jail for interrogation of their terrorism accusations. And this act was passed by Obama um, New Year's Eve, somewhere around that time. I didn't realize this law was passed until I saw a YouTube video of Anonymous, and I researched the bill itself and realized that during the controversy of the bill not being so vague on the abduction, uh, spitting on the Constitution, basically saying that anybody can be taken under suspicion of terrorism. I believe this act spits on the Constitution. You might as well be pissing on it, because honestly, if you're taking somebody and putting them in jail without fair trial, that's not right. Everyone deserves right fair trial. You can't accuse somebody doing something when you don't have present information on it. And I believe the government's trying to do this mainly because the evidence they do find is secret to the government. It would ruin their sources and expose their secret ways of discovering terrorism, making it harder to find them. But at the same time, you can't be taking people just because you accuse them of threatening to blow up the U.S. or threatening different stuff. It's just unlawful as it is. Even some states are so outraged with it itself that they are passing state laws saying that under their act, anyone who tries to detain anyone under that act of the federal law is breaking the state law and cannot detain a U.S. citizen. That was Virginia. That was one of the ones I read. And Obama's defense toward this act is saying that he wants to, he's only going to use it for the right of the U.S. and the right for the terrorists he believes are. And he's the only one that's going to use it from most of the standpoints that I've read in articles. And my view on it is that that's just a cover-up for the secret ways you find terrorists. You don't want anybody to know, because obviously they find out and it kind of blows your whole strategy. But standing at that point, even at that, saying that you're the only one that's going to use it, this is not a temporary law. This is a law. This law stays until someone not nullifies it, but gets rid of it. I forgot the word for it. But either way, until this bill gets disclosed, it's going to stay there for future presidents. And just because you're not going to use it for the bad doesn't mean the next president isn't going to use it for the bad. Just having this bill, having this law that passed is a terrible idea. You're unconstitutionally right. And as it is, having to deal with all these countries and all this terrorism that you're talking about, and you're taking away your citizens' rights, that right there is a terrible thing as it is, because you're starting to stir up people's suspicions of a dictator, a government that's military dictatorship. And as it is, Americans, we're not going to stand for it. We're going to want our freedom. We're going to want our right to fair trial, whether somebody uses it for good or right, or good or wrong. Either way, this bill is only going to start a revolution if things get worse with the way you're using it. People aren't going to stand for it, and having a revolution in the U.S. is not a good thing, especially since most of during this generation, there have been more and more people rising up in different countries fighting their government and hating the U.S. and American government for having what we have, having our freedom, when they had to fight for theirs, and thinking we didn't fight for ours. We fought for ours, but we had ours for so long and mistreated it for so long. and then having that with a revolution in the U.S. and somebody hating us for so long and seeing a weak point in our society, that's just going to bring a war to the U.S. I'm not saying that this is all drastically happening now, but these slow stages of making the constitutional rights of American rights is leading toward that. If you do not somehow, honestly, I just don't think the bill shouldn't have been passed. I think it was a very stupid idea. If you want to catch terrorists, do it the old-fashioned way. Catch them and put them to trial, like Americans are and should. You speak for America because you're an American government. This is not an American government if we're not constitutionally right. Well, it's like saying communist was what Stalin and Lenin did. What Lenin first wrote in the book, and his whole thing about communism was equal rights. The government equally gives everything out to support the citizens and the government. That not being actually true is what you guys are transforming the democracy into, is transferring what it actually is into something else, making your definition, power of words, into nothing but hopeless American dream when it's a hopeless American nightmare. It's transforming, decaying, turning into pestilence. It's just not right. And the way people view communism, as terrible as it is, because communism was not what Stalin did. They went from saying equal rights and having it good to having it where they barely gave the farmers right to make food, to barely giving them right to leave their house, to giving them barely any food at all, helping them out. They went through I think it was a 5-year freaking depression, and all the money that they made when the U.S. went in there and Stalin got out of power, and all the money they built up could have kept Russia for going for years on years. And all that money was built up from them holding it back from the U.S. citizens. Which is, if they would have just not totally depleted their food supply and had a little more toward the citizens and still kept money as a backup, they'd be probably the best government out of any government there is, any ideology at all. But if you want to keep the American dream alive, taking away the constitutional rights is one way to get rid of the democracy and have it rebuilt. You take away the Constitution's rights, people are going to be pissed. And that's pretty much my standpoint on it. Later.